Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Kuni Remastered. Let's continue. Now, I did say that I was going to have to keep an eye out to see if this game causes problems or if my computer causes problems. And it did crash, but either I am just insanely crossing my fingers and hoping it was just that there was a little memory leak um, in this game being left paused. It really wasn't even paused for that long. It was paused for maybe a couple hours. Um, and then it oddly crashed in a weird way where it went back to rendering the main menu. The problem here is that that's kind of believable. Games do tend to have a lot of games do have memory leaks where they just kind of crash if you leave them paused or leave them running too long. Although this is particularly short amount of time, but also we know that this is a Japanese video game developer, and they have never, until very recently, even thought about making PC ports. So the PC versions of games tend to be pretty bad. It could also have been my recording software. It could also be anything else. I'll leave it at that for now, and we'll just see how this goes. What I can say, though, that this is yet a third symptom that's very different from the other symptoms I've had. And I keep having problems with my computer, but they keep looking like a different symptom, which seems very weird. You'd think it would just be the same thing. Oh, Knickers, there's something I forgot to tell you. What's that, Mr. Drippy? Here in my world, you can use the right stick to change your viewpoint. If you're having trouble with the controls, go to the settings menu and have a fiddle with them. You can switch vibration on and off there as well, ain't it? He's gonna just say ain't it at the end of his line of dialogue each time. Which I wonder if ain't it in Japanese translates to something else like Nanda, just kidding, or um, maybe turning everything into a question. Although I've never really heard of a Japanese character turning everything into a question. Speaking personally, I'd have it on a rumble, int a rumble without a bit of a rumble, is it? Now, I know that's a lot to take in, Ollie boy, but I'm sure you'll get used to it, I guess. So again, we're just trying to get to Ding Dong Dale without really running into any monsters and doing any fighting at all, which will move us towards the story forward. Move the story forward a little bit.
Looks to me like a classic case of broken-heartedness.
Broken-heartedness? You mean that thing you were talking about before?
That's right. The broken-hearted are people who've had part of their hearts stolen. Poor souls just aren't themselves.
So,
Weird and useless they be.
in
Is this
the
always spoken by...
Keep up, will you?
Kingdom Hearts game,
If anyone tries to stand up to him or does
there's a
anything
similar
he breaks their
situation where
pieces so they can't put up a fight.
people
Keepers?
get turned
If he
into
stays that
monsters or
we can't get
zombies.
into Ding Dong Dell.
Then you better cure him, ain't it, Ollie boy? It's time to mend your first broken heart. So we might even go into like mental dungeons here to cure the brokenheartedness in this character. Kingdom Hearts really should have worked a lot better than I think it did. And I think in part that's because the story in Kingdom Hearts is too long, too crazy to be a kid friendly RPG. There's far too many games in the series. It has a weird flying gameplay mechanic that's unnecessary, and it shouldn't really have included the Final Fantasy characters at all. Mend it, but how do I do that? Well, you can't do it just yet. There's a couple things we'll be needing first. But I know an old man who's got just what we need. Proper useful I am, eh? An old man? What old man? What do you mean, what old man? The old man, ain't it? Lives in the woods to the north of here, proper deep and deeply dark it is. That's why they call it the deep dark wood. Makes sense, I guess. Okay. So the guy just sighs. This guy does. This guy is not brokenhearted, and they having him animated and moving around quite a bit to prove it. Seems like we could talk to everybody. Let's see. Well, how was that phrase? Mama, I need pee-pee. So we could listen. We could talk to everybody, but there's kind of not a point, I think, to doing all of that. We do have a fairly fast amount of loading in and out of these areas, which that'll be helpful. It would be a nightmare if it turned into a situation where we were taking an extra 30 seconds, 40 seconds to load into an area. I guess that guy's trying to attack me, whereas all of these other guys are not trying to attack me, but I can simply just outrun them. It doesn't look like there's that many creatures in this area anyways. I couldn't outrun that one.
We can do this.
So one hit kill. That's nice and easy. Of course, the problem here is you're gonna have to kind of get used to just mashing buttons to try and skip these end screens. Otherwise, these end screens will take up even more time.
Let's do it.
The thing I liked about Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eve as a Pokemon game, going into a 3D open world environment and not jumping back to the old school turn-based gameplay, was very similar to this open world. But the concern of having open worlds like this will be that it would just be full of a lot of redundant creatures, whether that's Pokemon or otherwise. Or it will just be full of a lot of conflicts. There's always been an imbalance as far as the numbers go in RPG games. You end up having to kill potentially hundreds of one creature to level up the exact same creature up to level 20, level 50, level 100. It's probably somewhat dangerous to go in between the trees. Where in a more abridged experience would ideally say that if you got a Pikachu at the beginning of a Pokemon game, that it would really only need to do, say, 25 fights before it was at its max level, and then you could move on. Particularly in a Pokemon game concept where you've got that gotta catch 'em all mentality, it's not reasonable to spend thousands of hours in a Pokemon game to get all 150 of the original generation of Pokemon up to max level. On top of which, you would also have to use the Everstone in Pokemon to stop some versions of that Pokemon to not evolve into other creatures. I don't know if creatures in this game will evolve. Probably not. I think they're going to try and keep it somewhat limited in the amount of creatures we deal with, and that's probably for the better. Look at that. It's a Waystone. There's useful. A Waystone. Yeah, man. They're ancient stones you can use to store a record of your adventure so far. In a wild place like forest and so on, you can't plonk yourself on the nearest rock and write your story down. But why not? Why not, he says, give me strength, man. Because they're crawling with horrible beasts, isn't it? They are? That sounds kind of scary. You'll get used to it, man. Just remember, you can't go recording your progress any old where. Allow me to explain a little more. Touch a waystone and your health and magic will be fully restored. Not bad. And that's not all. These little beers also let you save your progress. A traveler's best friend they are. So, why did the game make it out like I could just hit the pause menu at any time and save, to then take away that opportunity and that ability and say I have to save at specific save spots? It seems oddly mixed as far as how you're going to make your game work. I'm just skipping this dialogue. It's not that important. Look at that. They're useful. If you're lucky, you'll be able to use these one day. It's probably a teleportation thing. And it's odd that you go from the right stick to the D-pad when you get into this menu. Again, that really gives an indication that this game was just not really programmed for PC. We need to hit a new generation where saving is always automatic, it's always checkpointed, and you simply can never even have to worry about it. As standard, as something that is just required. So, yeah. Yeah, the save option is missing from the menu now. And I guess we just won't be wandering around this deep forest to explore. We really aren't in the position to be doing any exploration because we don't really have a proper weapon or armor or anything like that.
Who goes there?
So probably would make more sense to come back later.
How do, you leafiness?
Oh, Drippy, it's you. And to what do I owe the pleasure?
Well, I got a visitor by here from another world, see? And what it is I was wondering if you might lend us a bit of a hand, like.
Oh, I should have known. You only ever come to see me when you are in need.
Sorry, you tall ship. You know I'm always very grateful.
This boy.
Ah, spotted it. Did you?
It's an odd difference where the tree is definitely more of a 3D animated model instead of being a cel-shaded texture. It's more of a realistic texture. They're both 3D animated models, I guess, but
As reckless as ever, I see.
they definitely feel like they're from a completely different game.
Very well. You shall have my aid. But first, we had better give the boy a familiar, had we not?
There's actually only about 32 achievements for this game, so it's very possible that all of them are story related, or most of them are story related.
They're called familiars. Where we're going, the beasties are only going to get bigger and meaner. So you're going to need a helping hand, or claw, or beak, or tentacle.
The problem here is they're writing a lot of dialogue for Drippy when he's just kind of not that good of a character to like. He's not that likable, and I kind of like to see Oliver be thrown to the wolves a little bit more and have to just be his own character instead of being led by the nose by Drippy, which is a kind of ironic statement. But Mr. Drippy, there's no spell named form familiar here. You what? The boy is correct. Look at at his wizard's companion. It seemed that it's missing more than a few of its pages. Really knickers. So, what does that mean? I can't cast the spell? Oh, I'm not as powerless as all that, young man. Oliver, was it? Let me see now. Form familiar. Ah, yes. A gift from me to you, young Oliver. So we're getting a page added, which is just a triangle with a line going downward, which I wonder if that means all of the motions and spells are going to be ending with a line going through the middle of them. It would be interesting if there was a big twist to that, and if you don't do the line in between them, you do something much more powerful or something completely different. Thank you very much, old Father Oak. But simply possessing the page for a particular spell is no guarantee that you'll be able to make use of it. Some spells are simply not meant for certain wizards, such as life. Don't worry about that for now, man. Just give Form Familiar a go, will you? Sure thing, Mr. Drippy. I can't help but feel like when you see cutscenes that have voice acting and see cutscenes that don't have voice acting, and then see animations that have a more realistic texture to it, and then you see 3D models that have more of a soft cell animation to it, it kind of feels like there might have been at least 3 teams, maybe 4 or 5 teams that were working on very separate games, and it all got just put together at the end, and that there's just no consistency to it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if these flat 2D animations were literally going to be a Ghibli movie, and they sold it to Level 5 and Bandai Namco to use in a game instead.
And the stronger you get, the harder he's gonna hit as well.
Yeah, at a certain level, you do know that if this was fully voice acted, they would have had to spend a lot more money paying voice actors for different languages. And that might be why there's minimal voice acting in this game, but it doesn't look good. You might as well have just gone with more of a Pokemon version of that attempt, where you just have sound files playing and gibberish playing and never have full voice acting. Even new Pokemon Snap, a game I've played fairly recently, does that, where it is, for the most part, just gibberish sounds coming out of the characters instead of actual dialogue, and only in a handful of very important scenes is it voice acted. But it definitely doesn't jump around from one type of cutscene to another type of cutscene to a third type of cutscene. So this is a familiar, huh? And he's coming with us. Indeed, he will. The more the merrier, ain't it? You better give the little fellow a name, eh? Yeah, we'll just stick with what we've got. I don't see any reason to change that. Oliver, we cannot let you set off into the wild with only the withered wand in your hand. Let me give you some spells to aid you in battle. First is the restorative incantation known as Healing Touch. Seems like the game is going to fairly quickly here give you quite a few spells. And this time it is a curve, not a line down the center. Tidy. That's the most useful spell there is for wandering adventurer. Cuts, bruises, sprains, gashes, all gone in a jiffy with Healing Touch. Geez, you can make it sound like I'm going to get hurt an awful lot, Mr. Drippy. Next, I'll give you the gift of the Blazing Inferno Fireball. Shoots a little ball of fire. That one does. Plant-based beasties hate fire. None. Even old Tree Face here is scared of Fireball. Drippy, how dare you? I would never aim such a spell. You would never aim such a spell at me, would you, boy? Golly, of course not, old Father Oak. If these were supposed to be motions you did with a Joy-Con or Wiimote, they would be fairly difficult to pull off. And they wouldn't add much to the game. Anytime I've ever seen motion-based or gesture-based gameplay in a game, it has worked pretty awfully and not added much. Now, boy, you can press X at any time to open your spells menu. While a spell like Healing Touch can be used at any time, Fireball is meant primarily for use in battle. That said, the most unexpected of spells can prove incomparably useful given the right set of circumstances. Novel problems call for novel solutions after all. If you find yourself at something of a loss, I recommend that you go through your magical repertoire. That's a really big word for a kid's game. You never know which spell might save the day. You can now use the spells menu. Yep, we are basically 2 hours into the game and they're still tutorializing us.
Uh-oh.
Huh?
Spoiling for a fight, is it? Better give him what he wants, Ollie boy.
Huh? But what do I do?
Just think what you want him to do and he'll do it. It's as easy as falling off a log, man.
Okay. Just think what I want him to do. Here goes.
It doesn't quite...
Let's go.
Teeny Bopper is a funny name. It doesn't quite make sense to be fighting alongside your own characters or your own Pokemon-like characters, or familiars, as I guess what they're calling them. You would think the game would either be you control yourself and maybe give some directions to other humans, or you never enter the fight yourself and just send out familiars. Rydo, Ollie boy, it's time to learn about fighting with familiars. First off, you gotta pick who's gonna fight out of you and your little friends. So you may have to choose right at the beginning, which would be pretty easy to make a mistake there. We've got no trouble making him, so you best give him a go. Select him, will you? Alright, so we hit A. Send him out. Tidy, now let's send him into the fray, shall we? Oh yeah, see the circle at the top left there? That's your familiar stamina gauge. He probably doesn't have a health or magic potion. Although it does seem like at some point I will be able to hit right bump and left bump to check that. What that does is it shows you how much longer he can fight for, see? The longer you keep him on the go, the shorter his stamina gauge will get. When that's empty, that means the poor lad's so tired he can't fight anymore. Tragic. So before that happens, you have to call him back to you for a bit of a rest. Like, oh, and there's something else about familiars you should know. See that little mark here? That's its sign. Creatures have signs too, so there's probably going to be a rock, paper, scissors type game. It's sort of like a star sign, except for there's only 4 of them: moon, sun, star, and planet. And like star signs, different ones get on better. You can use that to help you in battle. So am I supposed to match the signs against who they're fighting? Let's talk about tricks. They're powerful abilities, a little bit like your spells. You can, and just like spells, they cost magic points to use. You can see the cost written next to them. Okay. Cut loose, I guess, is the trick you can do now. What you've got to remember is that you and your familiar share magic points and health points. So if a familiar uses a trick and takes a big hit, it's your magic points or H points that will suffer. Crikey, this is a long old lesson, eh? Right, let's finish with a top tip, shall we? Your familiar stamina is always going down, so you need to swap him out. swap with them regularly. You can do that anytime by pressing left bump, ain't it? Now I'm gonna stop talking before I put us both to sleep. Even the game is tired of its tutorializing. And for a Japanese RPG, there's almost certainly going to be at least another hour of tutorializing throughout the game. Should turn this thing for your supper. Go on, boy. Alright, so I tell him to cut loose, and that's like a super attack. When I'm moving, like, you're gonna have to be kind of careful. Oliver is already looking tired. Yeah. I think you're gonna have to be fairly careful to time your movements and your attacks, whether you're controlling a familiar or Oliver directly. And I guess it will just come down to, are you going to get different kinds of weapons and armor that only work for familiars? So now you know how to fight with a familiar, ain't it, Ollie boy? To be a true contender, you'll need to learn when to let your familiar loose and when to take control yourself. I'll do my best, Mr. Drippy. Certainly they could abridge this dialogue. There's a lot of ain't it, a lot of Ollie my boys, a lot of lines of dialogue that maybe in Japanese, because that language is just a little bit more compressed, doesn't take that long to read, but in English it is adding another 5 seconds, another 10 seconds here and there with every line of dialogue. Okay, and when he's not fighting, the little fellow can be found taking it easy in the creature cage. In the creature cage, you can shower your faithful familiars with delicious treats. All kinds of treats to choose from. Some will improve their abilities, while other ones that can teach them new tricks. Tidy. Feed them little bladders enough of what they fancy, and the bonds of familiarity between you will grow, meaning you can boost their abilities even more. Careful not to stuff them too full of sweeties, though. They'll only end up getting full up. Adoration in moderation. That's the key. It's probably a lot to get into your head around, but you just remember that the creature cage is where you look for after your familiars and take it from there, ain't it? Creature cage, got it. I promise to look after him real well, Mr. Drippy. And I assume the creature cage is just yet another item in your menu? Yep, the creature cage is now accessible from the main menu. Oh, I almost forgot we had something we wanted to ask you, your trunkiness. There's a guard down in Ding Dong Dell, and he's broken-hearted, see? Broken-hearted, you say. Shadar's evil spreads still further, so you will be needing... That we will, your okitude. There's quick you are. There's quick you are? You have still got it, ain't you? Oh, patience, young Drippy. Of course I have it. Let me see now. I know it's here somewhere. Crikey, you've not gone and lost it, have you? Lost it to insolence. Put it away safely among my uppermost branches. It's just a little tangled up there, that's all. How could a tree lose anything? While I seek it out, I have a favor to ask you. What? I did mention we're in a flipping hurry, didn't I? We haven't got the time to go. Mr. Drippy, we should help old Father Oak. He gave us those spells, didn't he? Oh, how refreshing to meet such a responsible and honest young man. This feels very kid-friendly in the way Oliver is being written as a kind of good kid, while Drippy is probably not too good of a character. Alright. I get the flipping message. Go on. What is it you need for us? Well, it's the guardian of these woods, you see? The guardian, eh? What's up with the old fellow? I'm afraid he's become rather unruly of late, and he is neglecting his duty. Well, that's no good, is it? We better help you sort him out then, eh? Guardian, he sounds kind of tough. Too right he is. He's way stronger than your average beastie, but you've got a familiar on your side now, Mom, and you'll be fine. Besides, you're gonna take down Shadar. You can't back out of a bit of light guardian bashing now, can you? Okay, I'll do it. How very kind of you. The guardian can be found in the deepest part of the woods beyond Whispering Waterfalls. I wish you luck. For spells now familiars, you're turning into a proper wizard, ain't it, Ollie boy? I guess I am. Now then, why don't you take a closer look at your new mate, eh? How do I do that? Mr. Trippy, it's a piece of cake. Now listen up. If you look in your main menu, you'll see friends and familiars. That's where you find all sorts of details about you and your familiar's abilities. It looks a bit complicated, and there's a fair few options kicking about in there, to be fair, but you'll get the hang of it. You'll soon get the hang of it, Mon. Now, you're still new to the wizarding arc, so there's a limit to what you can do, ain't it? But keep fighting monsters and eventually you'll get stronger. We call that leveling up, you see. We'll probably make some new mates before long. And all. So be sure to take a closer look at them, like I showed you. I got it, Mr. Drippy. Friends and familiars are now accessible from the main menu. The audio is a little poorly set up there, in that it was playing background music and then it very abruptly stopped the background music and then kind of poorly loaded in the little jingle music. One of the things I feel like Harry Potter kind of did wrong as far as the book series is that, or in all honesty, and as far as the movie series, since I didn't read the books, is it didn't let you really enter a magical world where you're a wizard or you're following Harry Potter being a wizard after about the third or fourth movie, and it very quickly just all became about Voldemort. And in a video game form, I think we're going to have an opportunity to be a bit more of a wizard and do a bit more varied actions. That being said, it's still going to be heavily just focused around fighting people. We don't have any treats to give the guy right now, and we can't select ourselves on this battle lineup, so it feels like there may be 3 humans with potentially a lineup of 3 familiars. There might be as many as 9 people that are on the screen at the same time. I really wish when you had games like this, you could script actions, because almost certainly what you're going to do is, if your magic points are down to 3 and your health points are below, say, 20, you're going to want to cast, if you have at least 3 magic points and your health points are below 20, you probably want to cast Healing Touch. At the beginning of every fight, you probably want to cast Fireball, although maybe not, because it doesn't seem like our magic points refill after each fight. Usually they do. I could get around playing a lot more RPGs, certainly, though, if I could script things. And so we see that this character gets a trick at level 50. We don't know what spells this guy will get. There is this whole tactics feature. And apparently I can have 2 accessories. where he can have a sword, a blade, a shield, and one patch, which may be different than an accessory. There are still 4 things, though, in this game. Like, 4 things that we have to be tutorialized before we can even do the main menu. I can hit the X button at any point to cast spells, and there might be some thought to that at some point, but there's at the moment nothing that happens when you press B or A when you're in this environment. I guess we're going this way. I'm just gonna investigate. Are there mimics in this game? Maybe. That wasn't one of them. Like, ideally, I would like to see the fight sequences go away and just be able to wander around what is effectively a dungeon here and just immediately mash the A button or the X button to attack. I'd best warn you, Ollie boy, it's absolutely crawling with monsters beyond here. Careful you don't get got before you even get to the Guardian A. I'll be fine, Mr. Drippy. I have a familiar to help me now. There's brave you are. Don't forget, though, it's gonna get tough. Don't be afraid to cast Healing Touch. I sure won't. Ollie tilts his head downward in a Japanese style, like hi, which is Japanese for yes. A lot, which again doesn't make a lot of sense because clearly he's not from Japan or Japanese. Remember when old Treeface told you the spells menu is a mere tap of X away. You should try to familiarize yourself with the main menu too while you're at it. Don't worry, you're not going to break anything no matter what you press, so have a good old poke around, ain't it? And when you learn new skills and that, new options will come up in the main menu, so keep your eyes peeled and make the most of your new toys. Jeepers, there's so much to remember. You'll soon get used to it all, man. No worries, now past the Whispering Waterfalls into the Guardian of the Woods we go. Right, let's go get him back to normal. So when we defeat the Guardian, will we get something seems like it probably makes some sense to save. It doesn't, it's waiting for me to press A a lot of times. I automatically just jumped on those rocks, so that's just automatic. I imagine we might get a new familiar by defeating a Guardian. Who do we want to send out? Is it better to attack now?
I'm sorry, Mom.
Wow, I just button mashed a lot there and immediately died. And I kind of locked myself into a loop there. Let's just return to the tile screen for this and just hit the continue button instead, but Yeah. It definitely seems like it is kind of dangerous. Like, that doesn't feel particularly kid-friendly, what just happened there. Alright.
Let's do it.
Now this time we are just fighting one person, and so I may have gotten just double teamed too much there. Yeah, this guy is really kind of wrecking me. And I couldn't walk fast enough to pick up the health. So does that mean I get the health again? Or I don't get the health? Leveling up? Let's see. Does leveling up mean our health and everything is back to max? Kind of feels like it is. There's almost an argument to go back and like save after each battle. Of course, this was always the danger. You have to select different monsters. Let's see. Go ahead and let him use the cat loose to attack two monsters at once. I don't like that Oliver is like rubbing his head after each fight. Definitely does feel like, though, you should fight with the familiar. It does just seem stronger. So the question, I guess, will come down to which way do I think leads the right direction. Bar of chocolate. It's probably a treat. You should probably check that. Alright, this bar of chocolate. That increased his attack by 1. And growth limit of plus 10. Plus 1 of 10. Cracky, I knew there was something I forgot to tell you about familiars. Huh? What is that? This is important, Ollie boy, so listen carefully, alright? I showed you how your familiars can use tricks, didn't I? Well, as your little fellows get stronger, they start to learn new ones. If you want to see tricks your familiars have up their sleeves, choose Friends and Familiars from the main menu. Tricks are a bit different from magic. Each individual trick fills a single command slot, you see. Press Y when your friends or family, in the friends or family bit, and you can change the command slot used for tricks. Which reminds me, a familiar can only remember a maximum of 8 tricks at any given time, meaning if you want them to learn a new one, you have to make them forget one of the old ones. Bit of a pain like, but at least you get to teach an old familiar new tricks. Anyway, the important thing here is that you assign a trick to your familiar's command wheel. If you don't, you won't be able to use it. Simple as that. Okay, I think I got it. Now, is it really worth it to potentially sneak up on somebody like this?
Come on.
Let's see. He can't do cut loose because of the fact that I don't have enough spells. And honestly, trying to run away, I don't think works. Like, even though you can actively move in this game, I think you don't move quite fast enough where it makes sense to turn your back on an enemy and you won't just get stabbed in the back by that enemy. Yeah. I have to just hope that I'm going the right direction. Probably is a split path where you end up in the same place either way. And you can't walk off and jump in the water or anything, so you're fairly safe. So even on easy mode, I've been able here to die and I've been able to I still have to fight through basically everybody in this environment. My only assumption is that maybe they would just have more health. They probably give you the same amount of gold and the same XP. There might just be more characters that you have to fight in general on normal mode. Ideally, if a game is going to have you walking through little areas like this, narrow sections where you don't really have any other choice but to fight, then you would like to have a system where either the characters start running away from you because you're over leveled to them, or you can just attack them and kill them in one hit, which that has certainly been features in other RPG games, certainly. Alright. So how fast can we save? Not particularly easily, because you have to hit A, then B. So you're gonna have to get a whole, like, distinct pattern down. This feels like a boss arena. I said before I thought that there might only be 12 bosses in the whole game. This might be the first one. Oh, what is it? Listen, man, someone's coming, but I don't. It's him. It's the flipping guardian. Yeah, you can see the other characters are fleeing for their lives. And the controller's vibrating with his roaring, but the controller doesn't vibrate that often in this game. Alright. I did 7 damage. I guess Ollie is just completely gone. Okay. Let's see if we can get some health here. And stab him in the back. Knickers, this looks serious, Ollie boy. You'd best defend yourself. You've seen the defend command, eh? In it, use it, or you're in for a proper headache, man. Okay. Unflipping guard. Nice one, Ollie boy. There's tidy. Defending against big moves like that can earn you a nice little bonus as well. So when he starts building up a nasty looking number, be sure to fill up your proper card. This is very weird though that you're cycling through like speech bubbles. It's kind of odd it's speech bubbles and not slot bubbles also. Because it would make a lot more sense to just have attack mapped to the A button or X button, defend mapped to the B button, and then a special attack mapped to Y, or even a selection submenu of mapped to Y. Right. And honestly, defending may not be as necessary as it seems. Alright, character is stunned now, so that defend wasn't that useful. We're about to lose. And cut loose is not strong enough. Yeah, he was stunned by a roar. And then when you defend, look, Ollie boy, the big lump's only gone and knackered himself. Now's your chance to give a proper walloping. Alright. Attack. We just lost. Now we don't know the value of gold at the moment, so if we were to continue here, we'd lose all of our money, which we haven't even been able to spend. It does just make more sense to go to the main menu. This is kind of classic problems with RPG games. Remember, well, I haven't mentioned it yet, but RPG games were kind of like the number one type of game that existed back in the NES era, particularly in Japan. So they have this long history, and being some of the earliest of types of games, they have a lot of gameplay mechanics that have almost this weird tradition to them of being old-fashioned and kind of awful. And a lot of our RPG games, and JRPG games in particular, don't want to change what from tradition. Japanese people in particular are not really known for wanting to break from tradition. We need to figure out what it's like as far as the number of attacks this character uses when I put him in attack mode. And Drippy literally drips. 2, 3, 4. You can't break out of being stunned. Not really getting those prompts anymore. Right. Okay, finally got to the prompts. So it seems like you could have potentially maybe defended a couple of times first before being told to defend. You can see attacking doesn't really feel like it does too much. It's better to just wander around and regain your health. Yeah, it's better to just kind of run around and like, yeah. Why can I not get... My stamina is too low. Oh. What if I was to swap out myself from this, actually, though, and come and just use Fireball? Well, I think that actually did way better. So I need to go and give him an attack. And see that that attack didn't do anything. Let's not be afraid to use Healing Touch. More spells. Fireball is the right move. But defending against being stunned seems to be harder than defending against actually being hit. But also it feels like if you are going to be I could bring out my other guy. Is there a reason to bring out the other guy though? Tidy, that's a gold gleam. Man, that little bitty will restore all your HP for you. And not only that, it will also let you do a miracle move that doesn't use any MP magic points, Tidy. But they don't hang around forever. Hurry up and grab it. Where is it? Yeah, Gold Gleam went away too fast while I was busy trying to defend myself. So there was a better way to win this fight, but for all the tutorialization that this game has done, it really did a bad job. Drippy should have just said, you probably need to use Fireball to defeat something this big. It gives us 90 XP. And we're already up to level 4 and level 5, which, yeah, on easy mode, that does indicate that there's not going to be too much fighting that we have to actually do. We also have the Spirit of the Woods as an item. Yep. There's always this case with RPG games where you want to kind of level up and overpower yourself, and then later on in the game you could breeze through it and you won't have to fight as hard for later bosses. But it never actually works out that way. But you also don't want to underpower yourself and run to the final boss and be 20 levels below was even reasonable. We've obtained a page describing the Guardian of the Woods, which I assume is just going to be a page you can read if you so choose. Crikey, that was a close run thing, man. The Guardian, he's headed toward the deepest parts of the woods. Do you think he's back to normal now? Your guess is as good as mine, Mon. But that weird look in his eyes had gone at least. I reckon he'll probably take some time out to get his head together, and then he'll be back to the old gardening. What made him so screwy like that? You don't think it was? Of course it flippin' was. Had Shadar written all over it. We'd best watch our backs if we visit any more forests. Saying that, you get guardians everywhere. Anyway, we did what we came to do. We best go back and see old Treeface, eh? Sure, let's go. It may very well be the case. There's our second achievement, so there's basically 30 remaining achievements, 31 remaining achievements. We may get a stronger wand, and then all of a sudden the stronger wand may double the amount of damage we do. The Serenity of the Guardian of the Woods heart has unlocked a story in the Wizard's Companion. You've obtained a new tale of wonder, which, yeah, that might be interesting to read if you're going for the extra content.
You did well to
But
come.
there's already going to be too much reading
And
for
I
this
found
game.
what I was looking for.
I really thought since this was going to
A
be
gift.
more of a
Way of thanks.
kid-friendly game, they would have
I entrust
made
to
an
you
effort
one of my closest companions,
to
the Telling Stone. His knowledge of our world rivals even my own.
that there would just be 100% voice acting would be my
I'm
expectation.
sure if you ask him nicely,
But that's not what
tell you
happened.
anything you wish to know. And the other thing, the locket. This is what you came here for, is it not?
Locket?
It is a vessel for fragments of the human heart. To rescue the heartbroken, you will need the locket and the spells required to use
I
it.
thought I was getting a magic wand.
I will give you those as well.
Maybe I was
Thank you so
getting a
much,
magic
Father.
wand from the city.
Such a well-mannered child.
This is kind of the
Something I could mention.
problem with RPG games too, is that
Ah, Backface.
you go to a city to get a wand, and then you have to do a side mission to get a locket and a telling stone
No matter.
and defeat a
You
guardian.
best be on your way. Now, boy, you must come and see me from time to time and tell me of your travels. I look forward to hearing of your progress.
This is
Yes, sir.
clearly influenced by things like Ocarina of
to head
Time
back to Ding
and
Dong
Zelda.
Dell and mend a broken heart.
Okay.
Telling stone is now accessible from the main menu. You've obtained the locket. You receive the page describing the Take Heart spell. You receive this page describing the Give Heart spell. So am I going to have to take hearts from other things to give hearts to this person? Learn how to play the game and other useful information. I almost wouldn't be surprised if this was added in the remastered version. Yeah, we have 22 things being mentioned in this curriculum, which is just a way of going back to pop-up tutorializing things. But what's interesting is they've skipped over 6 to 10. So there's some more basic main menu stuff that we still have yet to learn. And then they're skipping from 13 to 17. Let's just mark all of these as things we've already seen. The dialogue goes even longer. Hmm. These familiar signs are weird. Seems like there's a familiar sign and then a counter familiar sign. Should two otherwise identical creatures have different signs, they will each behave somewhat differently. Such differences reveal themselves most starkly when the creatures interact with one another. Each sign has a given relationship with its counterparts, you see. Sun is stronger than moon, but vulnerable to star, so it is a rock, paper, rock, paper, scissors um, game. Star is stronger than sun, but vulnerable to moon, and then moon is stronger than sun, but vulnerable to star, which seems to indicate Earth is not, planet is not in the rock, paper, shot. I keep wanting to say rock, paper, shotgun, rock, paper, scissors gameplay mechanic. Of course, the planet sign is a little different, but I can see I'm in danger of losing you. The point is that it's worth bearing the signs during a battle. So going for glims probably is going to be a major part of your gameplay mechanic. If you can get a gold glim, you should pick it up. And then running away from a fight may also play some roles. Normally in an RPG game, if you die, you would get some XP if you continue for getting rid of gold. Although there's plenty of cases in which that isn't the case either. Okay. We also are getting an indication here as to how many of the Pokemon-like creatures are in this game. If it goes up to 335 and then 221 for a non-guardian, then we can expect that there's somewhere around 350 creatures. Although there might not be that big of differences. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 4 different variations of a mite that we run into. Then pressing A makes them perform different animation actions, which is not that useful. You can spin them around. And they're going to keep a running count of just how many you've defeated. Which for Guardians, I assume that would always be 1. Deep Dark Woods. We now can pull up menus of dangerous places, which are basically dungeons. And we're being told that there are blue and red chests, but we don't know how many there are. We can also see that there could be as many as of about 14 different varieties of people in the Deep Dark Woods. Overall progress reports. This will give us an idea, I guess, of just what you're going to do in this game. We're probably close to 6% done with the main game, where we're only 1% done with the creature compendium completion, which, yeah, that would be the fill out your Pokedex and fight every monster in the game. As far as the locket, seems odd. Seems like you are going to collect 8 pieces of heart. Maybe you'll have to do that multiple times. Alright. And then we just run this way. And I guess it comes down to, do you want to go back through the dangerous place and grind a little bit more and look for chests? Or would you just prefer to move the story forward? I think you're still so early in this game that it makes a lot of sense to do this. Let's go ahead and overwrite something and see what happens there. Right. 2 hours and 53 minutes playtime. Whatever is going to have the most amount of playtime will be in the most recent slot. But the titles for the save spots don't seem to change quite often enough. We can't use these yet. Obviously that's going to be some kind of fast travel option. Right. So it's going to come down to, I see kind of these glittering gold gleams on tall spots. I kind of question if we're going to be able to jump or fly or something.
Come on.
Right. So interesting occurrence there. I could not attack because the other character was in the way. I also couldn't bring out the familiar because I was attacked early. There might very well become a point where we're going to have to find a different system. Like, where am I even supposed to be going? Let me just make sure I know where I'm supposed to be going, yeah. But we may have to just find a different system to get XP for our familiars, because that may just be so often that you're going to end up fighting yourself and casting spells. It definitely feels like we are now fighting different characters in this area, so we may have already leveled up. And these are still fairly easy one-hit kill characters or two-hit kill characters. In easy mode, it may just never really be necessary to heavily engage with these random encounters. Of course, it kind of doesn't matter if the game is going to constantly force you into it. But we'll want to keep an eye here out for, does my familiar now get more XP because he fought versus... Yeah, it kind of feels like that's the way it goes, is that whoever fights is going to get more XP. And this open world sections where you're fighting just random characters probably are the times to let your familiar fight, whereas boss battles probably are going to require you to cast spells and do more powerful actions, at least in part of the fight.
Looks like he's still the worse for wear, huh?
Mr. Drippy, we have to help him.
Right, though, Ollie boy. I'd better explain how it's done then, innit? First
Still
thing you'll need to do is to
tutorializing.
take the locket Treeface gave you and fill it with the piece of heart our friend is missing.
The piece of heart?
That's right. One of the bits we're all made up of deep down.
The bits we're made up of? I don't understand.
So it's going to be 8
How can I put
different
it? Just
keys.
give it a go. You'll soon work it out, man. First off, what that guard's missing is a drop of good old-fashioned enthusiasm. Find some and give it to him, and he'll be right as rain.
Okay, but where do I find enthusiasm?
Well, now, feast your eyes on that other guard, but there. He's got more get up and go than a sack of squirrels. If he hasn't got some enthusiasm to spare, I'm a monkey's uncle. Ask nicely, and I'm sure he'll give you a lend of it.
Sure, I'll try my best.
So you don't just go up and steal the enthusiasm. Interesting, everybody's all spread out now. So you actually talk to them, and then you take a part of his enthusiasm, and then you give it to the other guy. He'll probably ask for something in exchange. Excuse me, sir. I'm wondering if you could do us a favor. I wish I could, I really do, but I'm afraid I can't open this gate without my colleague's permission. Oh, no, it's not that. We just want to borrow some of your enthusiasm. Ah, well, if it's enthusiasm you're after, I've got plenty to spare. Take as much as you want. Thank you, sir. Mr. Drip, how do I get the enthusiasm out of his heart? Look at the pages Old Treeface gave you from your book, ain't it? It's a spell called Take Heart. You need to cast first. Take Heart. Oh, sure. So then it just jumps us here. A lot of these spells don't cost anything. I wonder what happens if I try to cast Gateway in just a random place. I guess nothing happens. So it's kind of questionable when Gateway will be usable and when it won't.
Looks like you've got yourself a locket full of enthusiasm. Now, you've just got to give it to our friend over by there.
Okay, here goes.
So, obviously, more often than not, we'll have to wander around larger environments, entire cities, entire worlds, to find the elements. I guess we have to talk to him first. So we need to give this guard the enthusiasm we got from his friend, huh? That's right, Ollie boy, your spell you need to this time is give heart, ain't it? No, it sounds just like the other one, but don't get them mixed up, whatever you do. Don't worry, Mr. Trippy. Give heart is the one for repairing broken hearts. I'll remember that. Now, when you cast Give a Heart, you'll need to choose the piece of heart you want to restore from the locket. Of course, you only got one in there at the moment, so even you can't mess this up. Go on, give the guard his enthusiasm back. Alright, here it goes. So I couldn't just cast the spell, it made me talk to him first and go through the tutorial. More than likely, we probably will enter a secondary area where there's going to be at least one piece of heart to collect throughout one of the 8 pieces of hearts to collect, and we'll find enthusiasm in some far off corner of another area, and then we'll find a person who needs enthusiasm in a very far off corner in a different direction. Yep. And we may even be able to have 2 copies of enthusiasm for each piece of heart, or multiple copies of each piece of heart.
Beautiful! It worked!
Neato.
I can't help but feel, though,
Looks like he's back in the land of the living.
that I would have preferred
What's happening?
them not to pay Ghibli to do the flat 2D animations, which is what I assume what they were doing.
Yes.
If they had spent that money on voice acting more often throughout the game, that would have been way better.
Thank goodness for that. I was worried about you.
I'm sorry.
Accessibility to kids and
But I'm back now.
just being enabled to pay attention and read is probably a bigger deal, particularly in the West, compared to bringing in flat 2D animation. In fact, if we're really going to get down to it, even a Ghibli-esque flat 2D animation or a Disney flat 2D animation in modern times, even when this game came out, were heavily on their way out as far as being relevant to the current generation of kids. Like almost all Disney movies now are 3D animations that don't look anything like something like Cinderella from the 60s or even something from the 80s like Aladdin or 90s like Aladdin whenever Aladdin came out. So, yeah, it almost certainly was the decision of a very old man who still thought kids watched flat 2D animations and thought Ghibli is particularly the animation style of the day. Let's continue playing. We still give it another 10 minutes. I can't thank you enough, but I'm sure you'll receive a fair share of merit stamps for performing such a heroic feat. Merit stamps? What are those? You mean you helped me out without even thinking of the merit stamps you'd earn? You do have a merit stamp card, don't you? They're used to collect stamps awarded for helping those in need. If you don't have one, you should visit Swift Solutions in town and pick one up. Listen to me rambling on. I've got to get this gate open. That's what you're waiting for, isn't it? Yes, please, sir. Tidy, we can finally go inside. What's interesting there is he bowed in a very non-Japanese way, which, yeah, definitely it feels like a Japanese person wrote a European person to have this much bowing, even if, yeah, I can't imagine Motortown citizens bow as much as Oliver is doing. That would be more of a feudal time. Ding Dong Dell, the Cat King's castle. You could probably take all these cutscenes and chop them up and make a decent animated series. Something that you'd put on like Netflix or something. You would target like 15 minutes an episode. We're finally here. We're finally in Ding Dong Dell. Indeed we are, Ollie boy. There were a few unseen snags on the way, I'll admit. But all's well that ends well. I was going to take you to see old Tree Face eventually anyway. Rydo. On with the wand hunt. The king of this place knows a spell or two. Let's see if he can help us, shall we? A real life king? Sure. I guess that means we should head for the big old palace over there, huh? So I guess again I could just talk to citizens. Yay, pee-pee time. So I guess she's probably popping a squat and they decide not to animate her popping a squat. Which it looks even worse now that this little girl needed to pee and she's just standing there because then she's just peeing in her pants. It would be better if she was squatting down as being a girl. Can we jump? No. So no climbing these areas. No finding sneaky ways to get there. Okay. Can't jump into every shop. You have a big fish theme, certainly. And they kind of spoiled the surprise, I think, by saying the king is a cat. Right. So there's 4 shops and what looks like maybe a dungeon and then more path. Let's go in here and see what they've got to sell. Let's see. So instead of smashing pots like Zelda, you just search pots, which is exponentially nicer, even if you are still stealing things from people. And here we have a anthropomorphic cat lady. I'm sorry, we're not open at the present. Please come back later if you'd like to stay the night. So that is a hotel, maybe a safe spot. I guess the question here certainly would be, can you just save inside the city? Yes, you can. I hope that the boutique hasn't sold out of the things I need. Right. It is. I wasn't expecting another cutscene.
It's so different.
There definitely are
Staring, man, it's rude.
human
But look at those goofy
too.
clothes.
Goofy? Are you blind? You are the goofy one round these parts.
Huh?
Look at his funny clothes.
Huh? Do I really look so strange?
Crikey, we better get you a new outfit before they put you in the zoo. Come on, Ollie boy.
That's a lot of people to animate for just a 2 cutscene. I'm sorry, Ollie boy, but no matter how trendy they are over in Motorville, your clothes are just plain out of place over by here. Are they really so strange? But this is all I have. And we'll just have to buy you some more, won't we? There's loads of shops here in Ding Dong Dell, man. One of them must sell clothes, ain't it? I guess. Okay, let's go find a store where I can buy a new outfit. So again, we have a side quest. Yep. It's kind of easy to get turned around, even looking at the map. So there's humanoids, and there are just animal creatures that are bipedal, anthropomorphic. The shop is there's swift solutions where people go to ask for help if someone's perturbing them. If you feel like helping a nearby needy person or two, go and take a look at the errand board inside. Solve someone's problem and you'll almost always reward you. So these are side missions. And we'll just generally need to search every environment. Doing side missions will probably get us treats and rewards, and maybe some items that are unique. I'm sorry I'm a bit of a flap at the moment, what with the reorganizing of the errand board. If it's a bounty hunter and you're after, you can come back later. So the game just does not want you to engage with anything out of order, which definitely feels a little too handholdy even for a kid's game, or a game that felt like it was supposed to be a kid's game. In all honesty, it is increasingly feeling like, no, it's not a kid's game, it's more of a game designed for older adults who were Japanese or fans of Ghibli, or either Japanese or fans of Ghibli, or both. Let's see. This is probably the shop closed, considering the clothes shop, considering there was... Seems to be sealed by some kind of magic. So we can't open the blue chests at the moment. Which, okay. I'm glad I didn't go back and try and investigate blue chests in the forest then. I imagine they're going to ask for a pathetically small amount of gold to get our first outfit. Excuse me, ma'am. Do you sell clothes from this world? I mean, do you sell regular clothes? Clothes, dear? Oh, hoot. I'm afraid we don't have anything in the stock at the moment. Don't tell us that, Mun. Have you seen how this boy's dressed? He's a flipping embarrassment. He's getting funny looks wherever we go. My street cred is in ruins. Ooh, a fairy. I used to see your kind all the time. I'll bet children these days don't even know who you are. You're telling me kids these days, Mun. Disrespectful, ignorant, downright rude. They wouldn't know a fairy if it kicked them in the flippin' shins. Not like you, eh, missus? Now, about these clothes. Yes, dear. Let me think now. Now I come to think of it, there was a traveler who left a set of clothes here once upon a time. He'd bought a new outfit, you see, so he left his old one behind. Roughly human-shaped it is, and cheap. I shouldn't doubt Tidy will take it. But Mr. Drippy, yes, now I remember he was the one who... Yes, he said they were very special clothes, made from fabric woven from the fibers of the sky tree, if I remember rightly. Lovely and comfy. Apparently her name is Hootenanny, and maybe she's part owl. Extremely hard-wearing and lucky to hoot. I think the only problem would be the size. If it's you who are gonna wear this outfit, dear, I need a few hours to make some alterations. It would look huge on you otherwise. Now, I suppose it's worth mentioning Japanese puns do not translate at all to English, so this might be localization doing the whole owl pun thing, trying to get the general idea across. But puns in general don't travel that well in written form as well as they would be in spoken voice acted form. It would look huge on you otherwise. Could you come back tomorrow morning? Of course we can, man. What about that? How's about that then, Ollie boy? There's Lucky. Nito, thank you very much, man. Hoo hoo. A pleasure, my dear. Toodle hoo for now until tomorrow. Now, I almost wonder if the person who left the clothes is a human that has visited this this world before, and potentially it seems like Shador or some other major bad guy was a human who came to this world and then got consumed by evil intentions via magic and became Shador or one of the bad guys. Because the subtitle to this game is Wrath of the White Witch. Shador, I don't know for certain, is the White Witch. Shador might be a completely different character. In fact, I'm fairly certain it is. And that Shador is the Dark Genie, which is probably a transformation of a human who came to this world before. Tomorrow's flipping ages way. I'd like to go and see the king right away, but we can't go till you've got your outfit sorted, ain't it? I guess not. But what will we do until tomorrow? I know the guard at the gate said something about us getting some kind of card from the place in this town, ain't it? Something Solutions? I think he said the name of the shop was the one we were just in. The Hootik, that's the owl one. Was it Swift Solutions? There's clever of you. That's the one. I knew it was some kind of bird. Nice one, Ollie boy. Stores here do have goofy names. You reckon? They're just named after what they look like, ain't it? Anyways, let's get over to Swift Solutions. So that one looks like an owl. And that's nothing. What a lovely outfit. Your shirt is such a pretty shade of yellow. Well, she likes it. So why does this look like a Swift Solutions? Because it's a bird? Okay. So yeah, we came in here to get a wand, and then we were told we were going to have to get a side mission to meet the king. Then we were told we were going to have to do a side mission to get clothes. And now we're going to have to do a side mission to kill time until we get the clothes. Welcome to Swift Solutions, where those in need come to watch their worries fly away, and where those who are feeling helpful agree to perform tasks on their behalf. What sort of tasks do you mean, sir? You honestly don't know? Dear me. You really are new to this, aren't you? Well, I shall swallow my amazement and explain. Folks who are in need of assistance flock to me, hoping to find someone willing to take on their errands for them. Remember, we started this whole game doing an errand, bringing food and milk to our house for our mother. It's going to be ironic if we, nearly 3 hours into the gameplay, are just back to doing delivery jobs. On your travels, you're bound to run into people who are looking for help, and you'll have to decide whether or not to soothe their fluttering hearts by taking on tasks they set you. Almost certainly, if they're mentioning fluttering hearts, that implies to me you're probably going to have to do a lot of these missions, if not all of them, to get the pieces of hearts to fix broken people. Have a look at the errand board over there. On it, you'll see a list of tasks you can take on. With Swift Solutions, you can also agree to undertake missions to eliminate specific monsters. They are known as bounty hunts. If you want to find out more, access the main menu and take a look in your journal. My journal, huh? Okay, I think I've got it. The journal will also show you how many merit stamp cards you've got. Oh, the gatekeeper mentioned something about those. I don't think I have one, though. Oh, you don't, do you? Well, that is swiftly remedied. Remedied, another big word. Keep this merit stamp card safe. You'll need it to collect stamps when you've completed tasks. Well, that doesn't seem like that's too many tasks. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. But you may very well end up just filling out multiple stamp cards. Once you've filled up a few cards, you can exchange them for merit awards, which are sure to be useful on your travels. Simply visit the nearest branch of Swift Solutions, hand over your completed cards, and the awards will be yours. Oh, thank you very much, sir. Well, helping people out is all part of saving the world, Ollie boy. But before we make a start on all that do-goodery, we need to get you dressed for a job. Now, the hootenanny said your outfit will be ready tomorrow, so I reckon our best plan of action is to go and get a good night's sleep down at the Cat's Cradle, isn't it? Journal is now accessible from the menu. Let's see, new errands available. A gremlin standing near the hootenanny ding-dong. Ooh, it looks somewhat troubled. That'll get me 2 stamps. Female gremlin. What's a gremlin? Who knows? Near the Catamander's store in Ding Dong seems to be in deep thought. Go and see what's troubling her. Ding Dong mother looks like she's worried about something. So can we do anything with these errands? Or do you just, are these just kind of hints? Well, the first thing we get by filling out one card is the ability to jump. Second one lets you run a little faster. Yeah, seems like all of these seem to be major improvements, so definitely feels like it's going to be worth it to try and get all of these done, or as many side missions as possible. Details of new errands have been added to your journal. So there's still one more item. Do we have anything to feed this guy? His fullness went down, by the way. So it seems like it does just go down over time. One more thing and then we will be done with the tutorialization for the main menu. Although I do think it is weird. Oddly, we can't use any of these tickets at the moment. Or this item. Mm. Just can't use anything at the moment. You can move things around and organize them in your own way. We have 153 gold. The game thinks we've been playing for 3 hours and 23 minutes, which is, I guess, accurate enough. We were to look at the book. Let's see, read from the beginning. The book. You would want to get the zoom in just right here. And then apparently it, even if you try to adjust the zoom, it zooms back out into kind of a limited spot. So take heart and give heart are back to back, but on either sides of those pages are hidden spells and a lot of hidden pages, so there might be some super take heart or super give heart spells, or the spells around it may have nothing to do with anything. This is a very nice looking book. I don't know. I kind of think we will eventually make these different weapons with resources, but or we'll be able to make these different weapons. I don't know if we'll actually get deep into it where we start crafting one of everything. Try to craft one of everything. There's nothing here that tells you how good a piece of armor or weapon is compared to another piece of weapon or armor. There's a lot of items here. Yeah. Personally, I guess I just don't really know. Here's a picture that'll show you how things relate to each other. Planet seems to be stronger than sun, moon, and star. And then also maybe stronger than twin star or twin planet. But it may do something very differently. It may not just be stronger. Here's our Might character. Interesting how it changes from that flat animation. I wouldn't be surprised if Studio Ghibli did all these flat animations, and that's why this book is so animated. And apparently he will evolve potentially into either a Mighty Might, a Marmite, or a Dynamite. So, yeah. Definitely feels like main characters end up potentially evolving into 3 different other forms. So if there's 100 base characters or so, and then 3 evolutions of each base character, then that would get you up to 400 characters. 300 plus 100. Which that's very believable. There's a lot of characters that are already being mentioned. And we definitely haven't fought any of these characters before. Here's what doesn't quite look like a map. Wizard Wars. There's definitely a danger here where the cutiness and the kind of kid-friendliness of this is going to get worn away and just be ignored by me as the player, in that I may just end up having to grind a ton. in the actual RPG elements. So, yeah. Of course, I am also probably not the target audience. I have to remind myself that JRPG players probably do want to spend 100 hours in this game. Me personally, almost certainly I don't. I want to spend 60 hours at most in this game. And unless this game turns out to be particularly great, it probably won't pull me towards wanting to play more. We are... You can't really zoom in here. We are in this top half of this island. And if you look at this map, it does kind of feel like there's not that much of a world here as far as the amount of cities. And we will be crossing the ocean. Yeah, it's definitely a lot that is not shown, but a decent amount that is already shown. If I go over here to the 12 Tales of the Traveler, we have gotten part of the second tale already done. Right. But it would be the journal we really would want to see. So I'm still trying to remind myself I have to press the A button instead of the B button. I'm so used to the controls being backwards, and ever since I got a Nintendo Switch a couple months ago, and that really confused my memorized finger positions. So right now we don't have any bounty hunts. We do have these quests, and storyline wise, I guess these are just gonna be simple quest story things. Talking to Philip, going home, heading to Phil's garage. Yeah, we can see in 3 hours we've accomplished 11 specific quests that were kind of simplistic quests. Alright, well, let's save here. And I will once again pause the game and see if that causes some kind of weird crashing to happen later on, or very quickly. That may have just been a weird fluke. Or maybe this game does have a memory leak when you leave the game paused, where it's just filling up the RAM and eventually going to crash. The game itself kind of locked up and crashed. Windows itself did not, which that is definitely a step in the right direction. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.